Hello there, Giancarlo here to talk about pseudocode and flowcharts today for the Computer Science Associate's Exam Study Guide. So pseudocode is an informal language in regular English to describe a program's steps. Precise syntax is not required when using pseudocode. Syntax refers to words, grammar, and punctuation in a language. So pretty much, normally in code, you'd have a lot of jargon like if something's true, then do print statement, etc., etc. But to make our lives a little bit easier, we included a way, or we created a way that we don't need to write that out before we start coding every single time. We made a way so we can organize it before we actually start typing anything on the keyboard. And so let's say all I wanted to do, and we'll do a real life example of this first because it's a little bit easier to understand. But let's say I wanted to eat an apple. So first I'd say, is there an apple? Is there an apple? Then if no apple, forgive me, if no apple, everybody knows apple spelled with 3 P's, of course. If no apple, buy an apple. And if apple, grab an apple. Okay. Then we go, is an apple grabbed? Then eat an apple. So of course this is pretty straightforward and maybe even a little bit silly, but it shows the idea of pseudocode, which is how would you eat an apple? So is there an apple? If no apple, buy an apple. If apple exists, then grab an apple. Then it constantly will ask the question, is an apple grabbed? If it is grabbed, then eat an apple. And so then you eat an apple. Of course, something like this, in actual code, would be an infinite loop. But we'll worry about loops and such a little bit later in this study guide. But that's what pseudocode is for, is just giving yourself an idea of something that's a little bit more complicated. And yeah, eating an apple isn't super complicated, but it can be if you think about it, because you have to bite into the apple, then you have to salivate for the apple, then you have to swallow, you have to pick up the apple, which is a control of all the motor of your nervous system and your motor functions. And so there's a lot of things that actually go into that. And so when we think about it in code, we can break it down into steps that we understand in English, so that when we go to write the code, we then know how to write the code rather than just jumping in and ending up with all these random things all over the place that don't make any sense. Which is why we try to do some kind of pseudocode beforehand to organize everything. Okay. Also, this is a good prelude for flowcharts, which look something like this. So let's say in this, this is just a command. We'll just put a start command, and this is a yes, no. This is yes, this is no. Okay. So for flowchart, is like this: start, yes, no. Maybe even here we'll do input. If the input is an A, we go over here and we'll say in this box okay. So flowchart shows the flow of your program, the order of how things are going to get done. So from here, the user would put in an input. For this one, let's just say it's a character, A through Z. If they enter a B into here, if they input a B, the B goes into here, and the B asks yes or no. Asks the question A, yes or no. So B, is B and A? No. So the B goes into here and isn't relevant for this next part, but it's still there. Then it'd print to the screen the question marks. It would say, I don't know what you're talking about. Now, if you put in an A, it would go into here. Say A is equal to A, then yes, that's true, and it would print ah. Now, here's an interesting question. What if we put in an A? Well, actually, this here is an uppercase A, and this is a lowercase a. Since they're not the same, it would actually send it down here, and it would end up printing the question mark because it wouldn't know what you're talking about, because it has to be equivalent to A. And so flowcharts are a helpful way to decipher the flow of control within a program, and they let you actually visualize it rather than having to guess at how your program is going to work in practicality. Alright, to sum up, pseudocode is a representation of what we want to accomplish in plain English, and a flowchart helps you to see the actual flow that your program will take by using rectangles for commands and diamonds for yes and no questions. That's pseudocode and flowcharts. And thank you for stopping by. I hope you got something out of this study guide. And if you did, hope you subscribe and like the video and join us on this study guide adventure for the associate's exam. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.